Hello there everybody, Sam's Trains here. Welcome back to the railway and welcome back to the model railway news for April. I've got an absolute ton of news to share with you this month, including all of the latest major announcements. So we're going to jump into this straight away with Bachmann, who have some very big news to share. I suppose effectively what they've done is introduce a new scale, and that is called NG7. Now Bachmann have produced quite a few narrow gauge locomotives in the past, but those have been 009, so 00 scale. This though is something completely new. NG7 scale is to be O scale narrow gauge, and the locomotives and rolling stock will run on 16.5mm gauge track, meaning that they are compatible and will work on 00 or HO gauge track. The models haven't officially been announced yet, that's going to happen during the summer 2024 announcements, but Bachmann have revealed what is going to be announced. So in terms of the locomotive, it's going to be the Quarry Hunslet 040 with both the open and enclosed cab variants, with specifics in terms of price, livery and features yet to be announced. They're also announcing 3 wagons to start with. The first one is this, the flatbed slate wagon, and then a traditional slate wagon with the basket-like sides, and finally a coal wagon which has the fully enclosed sides, as you can see. They're also producing a small selection of new scenecraft buildings for the scale, just 3 of them to start with I believe, although obviously other O-scale scenery and buildings will also be in scale with this stuff. They're even also producing some crew figures which will fit into the locomotives, which I think is a nice little touch. They say that the range is already at an advanced stage of development, and get this, they say the production is already complete. So these images that have been shared already are probably quite out of date. Presumably all of the liveries have been finalised and produced, and we're going to be seeing these complete models very, very soon, which is extremely exciting. They say that the products are due to arrive in shops during summer 2024, so certainly not too long to wait. And I will obviously cover these in a lot more detail once we know more of the specifics. They also made this soft announcement for 00 scale, an announcement for an announcement, if you will, and it is the unique looking 12-ton pallet vans, or PAL vans. They revealed these engineering prototypes at the London Festival of Railway Modelling, which shows some of the variants that will be available. And these specs look pretty impressive as well, although once again I will cover these in a bit more detail once they've been properly announced. And like the NG7 range, the prices and other information haven't been announced yet, so I'll cover this again once they have been. The next piece of big news comes from Rails of Sheffield and Heljan, who have announced the return of the Class 28 Co-Bo diesel locomotive, which was initially released in 2011, and it's coming back and it's going to be exclusive at Rails. This 13-year-old model had become quite rare and sought after, so it's awesome to see it making a return after all of this time, so that those that missed out initially can now get one. The downside though, as you might expect, is the price. These start at £199.95, which seems like an awful lot to pay for a Heljan model from 2011, which originally cost £125. Now, adjusting for inflation, that should make this model cost about £176, meaning that this new price is considerably more expensive than I would expect it to be. Not forgetting, of course, that the research and development for the model would have been completed and paid for years ago, and not necessarily to 2024 standards either. According to Rails, all the specs are currently the same as previous releases, which is frankly extremely underwhelming for 200 quid. Although they have said that the models will feature an enhanced livery application over previous releases, which you would absolutely expect, and they also say that there is now provision for DCC sound, the DCC sound versions being available for £329.95. And whether the DCC ready versions include pre-fitted speakers or not is currently not stated on the listing. They still do have the 8-pin DCC sockets though, so that's something else that hasn't been updated. The specs include separate details such as etched grills, which sounds pretty decent. They're going to have head-code discs provided, a 5-pole motor with twin flywheels and 8-wheel drive, so not quite all-wheel drive unfortunately. It's got a die-cast chassis, as again you'd expect, directional lighting and NEM couplings. So the specs do sound okay, and I hesitate to call a model that I haven't tried a rip-off, but with so many outstanding new tooled diesels being released these days, considerably cheaper than this, it's hard to imagine that this can be anything close to good value in comparison. This is certainly an interesting model, and it's one that I've always wanted to try, but with prices like this, I doubt I'll be getting one anytime soon. This is an old model, and I think the prices could much better reflect that. Accurascale, please get cracking, lads. Next up then, a bit of an update on Oxford Rail. So we saw at Worley last year that work on their J26 locomotives had resumed. Well, now they've posted a nice little update about them. They say they've made amendments to the toolings, and they've also reworked parts of the model to improve the standard. They also posted this 3D render of the 4 different versions to be produced, and they say that now they're waiting to receive the samples. They've also announced a new livery for the J26, which is very exciting. It is the NER variant. So this is going to be in a lined black, which I'm sure is going to look excellent, and it's actually not classified as a J26, it's classified as a P2. Yeah, not that P2, a little bit different from that, obviously. This also means that we will now have a pre-grouping version of this model, which is very, very exciting. And with an RRP of £129.95, these still seem like extremely good value, and I can't wait to finally get one of these. It's been so long since these were announced, it's very exciting to know that work is still going ahead on them. Earlier this year, I produced a video about my thoughts on the state of Hornby's new TT scale. And in that video, I criticised the lack of variety in Hornby's TT range. And in response to my criticism, I too received some criticism for my criticism on how limited Hornby's range was. And I was told just wait until the April announcements, where presumably I'd see the range skyrocket considerably. Well, the grand day has been and gone, and the good news is that yes, some new TT models have been announced. The bad news is that there's only 2 of them, plus a few accessories. The first new model is the TOUAX container wagon, which is being produced in a number of different liveries. Hornby say that these will feature a die-cast metal chassis, which suggests that this will be a high quality and sturdy model. As well it should be, given its RRP of £47.99, which sounds like a 00 scale model price. And the retailer price still seems very expensive at £43.19, which represents a 10% discount. They've announced these 4 different versions of the model, and they say that these will be a good match with their upcoming Class 66 locomotives in TT scale. The other new model that Hornby announced for TT was a locomotive, and a steam locomotive at that. It is the J50, a very popular and high quality model in Hornby's 00 scale range. Now, on the one hand, I think this was a really good choice to introduce. It's a small 060 steam locomotive designed for shunting and goods work, which is a really nice contrast with the large express passenger steam locomotives that have been released to date in TT. On the other hand though, it's yet another LNER locomotive, just like every other TT steam locomotive that Hornby have released to date. This means that those that are interested in other regions and railways still have absolutely 0 options, although they have announced a couple of BR variations in addition to the LNER version, so there is a tiny bit of variety here, I suppose. The new TT J50 is also extremely pricey at £139.99 RRP. That is almost double what I paid for Hornby's 00 scale version of the model when it was new back in 2016. Yes, a bit of a hard sale that. There's also not much info on the specs. The weight without packaging is said to be 0.07, but without any units provided, that's a little bit useless. Maybe that means kilograms, which would make the model about 70 grams. Well, that's not an awful lot. They've also got 3-pole motors, which isn't that impressive, but they do have the 6-pin DCC sockets, which are compatible with Hornby's 6-pin HM7000 decoders. The build material, detailing and other features though remain a mystery. Elsewhere in the 2024 range, they've announced some new variants on the 12-ton tanker, which was previously released, and also the Pullman coaches with these new kitchen cars. They've also got a level crossing, which is an interesting addition, as well as signals, which are much needed. They've also introduced the Intercity 125 train set, which includes these locomotives that I've already reviewed, in addition to 2 Mark III coaches. It comes with track, a controller, a buffer stop and a re-railer, all for £249.99 RRP, or around £225 at the retailers. And here's a hot take that you might not be expecting. I think this is extremely frustrating, especially for people like me who have just spent an absolute fortune on the Class 43 train pack. This pack is brand new, it's just been released, and all you get with it is the locomotive and the dummy car for £219.99. So just to get this straight, Hornby released this expensive pack, they let people like me buy it, and then they revealed that for just £30 more, you can get the track, you can get all of the accessories, you can get a controller, and you can get 2 coaches with a combined value of over £75 for just £30 more. So yes, this is extremely frustrating, and it also kind of reveals how unnecessarily expensive that original Class 43 pack was. So if you haven't already bought the Class 43 like we fools have, then this is pretty awesome, as you're going to get a pretty good price for the locomotives and also the coaches. For the rest of us though, including me, it feels like once again Hornby have just ripped us off big time. Poor planning and irritating timing as usual from Hornby. The last bit of news comes from Dapol, who made a very interesting and quite dramatic post on their news page warning of fake Dapol products that have become available. They said, "We wish to warn you about fake Dapol product being sold via a Chinese-based website, as well as on well-known online auction sites." And they followed with, "These are not authentic Dapol products. They may well be illegal copies. Dapol does not vouch for their safety or quality. They are not covered by any warranty that Dapol ordinarily offers with our products." Now this was the first I'd heard of this, so I had a quick look on AliExpress and eBay, and I found these O-gauge locomotives on eBay. There's quite a range of the 14XX and 57XX steam locos on there, and the listings say that they are direct from China. And in addition, the prices do seem to be much cheaper than the current retailer price. So it could be that a factory in China with access to Dapol's toolings has been making unauthorized Dapol models. It's also possible that a different factory has just gotten hold of a Dapol model and reverse engineered it and copied it, but I would guess that that's pretty unlikely given how expensive and time consuming that would be. Not an easy thing to do. Dapol haven't disclosed exactly what's happened and which products are affected, which makes it a little bit tricky to know what to look out for, although they did say on Facebook that Dapol do not have any stockists or distributors who sell or ship direct to the public or to our stockist network base in China. If someone is selling a Dapol product and they are based in China, it is a fake, in capital letters, and you buy it at your own risk. So for those asking what these products are, it's probably those O-gauge locomotives that I showed you because they were shipped from China, and there could be other things too, so definitely look out for those. It does seem quite tempting to seek out these models and get a bargain, but bear in mind to do so will hurt Dapol financially because they won't see any of the money from those sales. And personally, I think Dapol are a decent company who always seem to do right by their customers, and I do think they are worth supporting. And plus, Dapol's prices are among some of the most reasonable in the industry anyway. Also, bear in mind if you're buying direct from China, there can be hidden costs like import charges, which will put the price up anyway, so even if the price is tempting you, it's probably not worth doing. As much as I think it would make an interesting video to buy one of these models and take it apart to see what's going on, I'm not going to, and I don't recommend that you do either. There's a lot of ethical problems with it and most likely some legal issues as well. I do have to wonder though whether it was wise for Dapol to post about this publicly, as drawing attention to this stuff will no doubt make some people curious about the fakes and cause them to seek them out. Like I say, I hadn't heard about this until I saw Dapol's post, so hopefully they haven't caused the Streisand effect by going public with this one. But anyway, those are my thoughts on that. If you've got any of your own, please do post them down in the comments. And also, if I've missed something out of this news video that you think deserved a mention, please also comment down below and I will consider that for next month. For now though, thank you so much for joining me for another episode of the news. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you again very, very soon for some more videos. Alright, cheers folks, you take care.